Hi, Zizaran here with another video, and this is going to be about Last Epoch. I'm going to do like a first impressions of this new season 1.1 and the new stuff that they've added. Important to note, this video is sponsored and I was sponsored for 6 hours to play Last Epoch this season. Last Epoch has actually given me the best response the first time I was sponsored back in 2018. Ziz, if there's anything you don't like about the game, you can drag it on your stream. We want to make a good game. They've always been really receptive to negative feedback, and I like saying that because it's quite important nowadays where you do have a lot of content creators signing non-disparagement agreements where they're not allowed to say anything negative about the game. With that being said, I do want to start this video with the downsides and things I didn't like this season, and then we'll end on a positive note and cover what I did like this season. So, I started playing this season. First, I made a character called Zizaran beats Steel, and I was like, oof, I'll do a 20-hour session. We'll do really great. I'll rush for this boss. It'll be fun. And then I died. I went to Monolith at level 34 or 31. It didn't go that well. I met Bengaris early on and I died. Then I made Zizaran died LMAO and played a little bit more casual. And it was going really well. I was playing Frostclaw and really enjoyed it. And then I died to the Nemesis UI. More on that later. Now I'm making Zizaran Spork. I haven't decided if it's going to be Spark Charges or Glacier, but we'll see. Or maybe go back to Frostclaw. I enjoyed that so much. But either way, that's what I'm currently playing. This season, I decided to start with the auction house because I'd never tried that before. And I figured it would make sense since I tried Circle of Fortune last time that I would try the Bazaar this time. It is the worst auction house I have seen in any game ever. And there are a couple of reasons for that. It's very fixable and they have said that they have improvements coming for it. But yeah, as you can see, I had sold some items there. From what I think, there's a dupe bug right now. I don't know if that affected hardcore or just softcore. And hopefully, if there is a dupe bug, 11-hour games has a zero tolerance policy on that. I would hope and permaban anyone that dupes. That's what most people do, at least. Like, I feel like there's very little ambiguity when it comes to that level of game abuse. Now, what makes the auction house so bad in my opinion is, well, first off, why is there not just one vendor you talk to or that you can interchangeably talk to, whichever one you want? Like, they can keep it looking like this, but the fact that I have to go to the glove vendor to look at gloves, I have to go to the helmet vendor to look at helmets, like this is insufferable because I don't really know what things are worth. I've just been playing Circle of Fortune before, so I know what's good, but I don't know what's necessarily rare and maybe other builds use. So I have to price check each one of my items manually. Means I have to like, oh, where's one-handed maces? Is that down here? Is that up here? And I have to run around. So that's awful. And the searching features aren't that good. You have to click on like more. Like this could maybe be the other way around. You probably don't care about the first 4 tiers. You're probably most likely looking for 5, 6, or 7. So just in general, not a big fan of the auction house. Now, I do think this is also a lot better on softcore because there are so few people playing hardcore trade. Most people are playing Circle of Fortune because it is so incredibly powerful, and it takes quite a while to get to the level where there is even a reason to be the Merchants Guild, right? Because until you're like 9 or 10, you're not really getting anything useful out of it. The reputation gain should be completely different for Merchant Guild than it is for Circle of Fortune. I think Circle of Fortune is perfectly balanced and perfectly makes sense. But also, I do think this is some hardcore problems because people have told me Merchant Guild is far more powerful on softcore and you can just buy 4 LP uniques and whatever you want. It is a staggering difference on softcore and hardcore. So many of the things people have been like, oh, just buy one. There is not a single one listed, like not one. And if there is something listed, it'll be like 1 or 2 million. So it's a little bit crazy difference. Now, another thing that is a bit of a downside, there are upsides and downsides here. Like obviously they have added more endgame content to the game and added more things like Harbingers to the monoliths, and they've added Nemesis. And the Nemesis has really good things and really bad things about it. We'll cover that in a sec. I do still feel like something is missing. I think that's just a time thing. Obviously Path of Exile has been out for so much longer than Last Epoch, so there's a lot more to do in maps, which is the equivalent of monoliths. But I would love like a little bit more choice, a little bit more things that can happen. Like I absolutely love the new edition of Nemesis. It adds so much. I'm trying to find one at the moment. It does also come with some bad things as well that I have already message the devs about, because I really hope it's something they'll change. But it is particularly the Nemesis UI. Now, obviously, when you have a mechanic like this, pausing the game would be ideal, but if that's not possible, then at least showing your health bar at all times, maybe even like closing the menu if you're getting attacked, or like a red border when you're unsafe, maybe green border for being safe. Stuff like that would be absolutely insane. So yeah, I was trying to find one here, but it's oh, it's also not spawning enough. It is a little bit weird to have a league mechanic that isn't spawning in every single monolith. Like, at least when it's the first time it's being introduced, I do think it should be in every single monolith. If they were worried about people like spam farming and spam abusing it by like making a new zone over and over again, maybe it should only spawn after a certain amount. Like, for example, in arena, it should spawn when you're done with the arena. The fact that in the arena monoliths it doesn't spawn at all, it makes arena even more undesirable to do. I end up basically like looking really hard, like, ooh, what's the extra stability here? Right, because like here this one only has 18, so I know that that's an arena, right? It says up to 18 bonus stability, and then I can click on it. But I usually just like look at the max bonus, and if the max bonus is low, like 20, it's arena, 20, it's arena. But if it's above 20, then it'll be a normal one. But it feels really bad to misclick, and now you're in like a bad monolith. But yeah, I do think the monolith system does need a little bit extra. It's a really good starting concept and probably better than Path of Exile's map system started out, but it does need a little bit more. Now, Last Epoch is fairly new, so I do feel like this system adds a lot more. For Nemesis, my main problem I have is the spawn rate, the UI, and it is way too easy. It is in fact never ever a challenge. All of my characters so far, every time I met a Nemesis, even if it's fully empowered, I just wipe it out of existence with like 3 spells, basically. Like, I usually play powerful characters, but pretty much everybody I've seen, like, nobody has struggled with one. They do not at any point, even at level 100 timelines, I was doing 200 corruption, and they're still very easy. Eventually, they will maybe be okay at like high corruption, but they should not be as much of a walkover as they were. Let's talk about positive things, and I want to go back to the Nemesis mechanic there. And it is one of the best league mechanics I've seen in an RPG, and which is wonderful because it is so incredibly simple. And I think Path of Exile's Last League really shows that more is not always better. Path of Exile's Last League, the Graveyard Necropolis, is incredibly tedious, incredibly complicated, and gives you way too much rewarding loot, and all of those actually end up being a bad thing, not a good thing. That's why the retention is lower than ever before. So that is quite rough. I think if you're able to make something simple and good, that is really treasured and loved. Every time I see one, I'm looking forward to it. I love the mechanic that it's like empowering the rare gear. So if you're finding stats that you want, like, that's really good. It's got the chance to make legendaries really early on, which is so cool because normally you can't get legendaries that early on. So like, oh, that's actually unique I need, and well, either I get LP or I get legendary. So that's just simple and cool system. And with the egg being able to put in your own, it creates a whole, like, it was very interesting for me as being in the bazaar because I could buy cheap 0 LP uniques and put them in the egg and hope that they get 1 or 2 LP, maybe 3 if I'm lucky. And that was wonderful, especially with what I really love about Last Epoch's trading system as an actual upside. Bind on trade is the best solution to anything like market abuse, bots, anything like that. Like, bind on trade is the single best thing. Now, there are some downsides, like you're not able to buy a gear set and sell it again later. But I think games generally need more item syncs, not less, because with games like these, the economy ends up getting very stale and dead quickly. So big fan of item syncs like that. The new Harbingers and stuff, very difficult. I really like that. They've been a large step up above, and I think the system is really good that, you know, you can sort of decide where do you fight the different harbingers. You get a harbinger map. On your first harbinger, you do it at 100 corruption, then on the next one it's 125, the next one 150, and you have to go harder and harder, and on the 8th one it's like 300 corruption or something. So maybe you want to do your first or second one on ending the storm because Lagon is so much harder than anything else, and it's a small arena. You really don't have too much room to dodge there. But yeah, so cool. I'm just very impressed. The new boss is so hard that so few people killed it on hardcore. I think it's I haven't been online in a day, but so 3 people at least have killed it. Maybe more by now, but it is really difficult. It's a proper pinnacle fight, so no joke. So I think that's really cool. I love that they added such a hard fight. And I think between the Harbingers and the Nemesis and Abby, the new boss, it really breaks up the monotony of monoliths. I do think it needs a little bit more. I would love to see a bit of a rework on the dungeons. I do think the dungeons are really cool. I think the concepts are great. I absolutely love them. But I think the dungeons themselves, like being in them, they feel really like kind of bad and unrewarding compared to 300 corruption even monoliths, right? Like they don't ever seem worth doing. So maybe have some more choices in the like filler portion. Like, you know how at the start, sorry, at the second area of the Jolra dungeon, you start getting doors. Like, oh, do you want more exalted items? Do you want more? Like, maybe having some more things like that early on where like the drops are better. Because right now I only do the Jolra dungeon for the LP stuff. And that's fine, but it's also a lot of backtracking. It's not fun being in like the middle stage of the dungeon, but the bosses have been great. Yeah, in general, really happy with this. Chose an interesting time to launch right before Path of Exile's new league, but yeah, hopefully they'll time it a little bit better in the future because there are a lot of us that want to play both games. And yeah, Last Epoch is really fun right now. It has, I would say, probably the best item chase of any ARPG. Like what they've done with legendary potential, especially with the addition of Nemesis, so incredibly fun. It's so fun to chase for LP, and now that you can sort of increase your own, as well as go directly to legendaries. Like I got this super early. And I've seen they've gotten so many positive comments from being able to skip the campaign if you want to early. And there's pros and cons. Like it's not always. Like, I've seen a lot of people do the campaign to different lengths. Not everybody skips it. But you can. I have a video on how to skip the campaign in Last Epoch. And you can skip it as early as 15, I think, on softcore. Obviously, you are going straight to like a level 64. 58 straight to level 58 zone. So I've been skipping it as early as 31, 33, and then dying. Successfully I've been skipping as early as like 35, 38 on hardcore, and that's been easy and fine. But yeah, it's really hectic in the start, and then you go back later to act 9 through the temporal dungeon, and yeah, you're able to continue off the campaign, get all your skill points, and boom, you're caught up. So you can save a lot of time that way. I think it's a really good way to do it. Be interesting to see if Path of Exile ends up doing anything similar at any point, but really, really good season. Definitely helped what the game needed with the new endgame additions. And I think if they keep this up, just, yeah, wonderful, beautiful, bright future. I hope they make a unique item tab. That would be great. Either way, thanks for watching. Sub if you like the video. You can buy the game through me if you want to at Nexus. But either way, try to die less than I do.